technologist. So there's no question, no doubt for us to wait for. We are very clear we have to produce enough bricks for the industry, for the building industry, construction industry, I mean. So I'm just directly going to my presentation. I'm not delaying the presentation. The subject is the modern techniques of building bricks for clay processing technology also. So let me begin. Before I begin, let me tell you, we are here to tell you a story, simple story of how we can go about how how we can build resource-efficient bricks. One doubt is that, what is resource-efficient bricks? Resource means we have seen the resources. These are the resources, main resources are men, material, money, and of course power and energy. These are the main resources for making bricks. So we have to minimize all these resources. Minimize the uses of men, of course, the first resource, material, second resource, and money, and power also. Why should we minimize this? Because there is a curve on all these things. And we have to maximize one thing, and that is the productivity. We have to use as minimum possible as these resources and produce the maximum bricks or tiles, clays, or whatever it is. So, before I head down into my presentation, let me tell you something about the company which I represent. It is Vijay Prakash Industries. It has been started in the year 1966, and since then we have been manufacturing one thing alone, clay processing machineries, nothing else. So, since we are machinery manufacturers, my presentation is limited to the machinery, the bare essential machineries required to make the best bricks, the best clay products. So the first, I'll tell you one thing also. We were the first Indian company to produce a de-airing pug mill. You know the importance of the de-airing pug mill in clay processing and tile manufacturing. I don't have to explain all those things. And we are proud of not our machineries, but the clientele, the industrialists who are still with us and who have been there in the beginning also with us. So, there ends the introduction about the company. Now I'll go for the product. The product is resource-efficient bricks. I told you before itself, we have to utilize all the raw materials and everything in the minimum possible way and produce as maximum product as possible with the maximum quality also, with the maximum utility also. That's what we are aiming at. So the Indian situation is fast changing now, because we know a lot of multinationals, the market is opened up, a lot of multinationals are coming. And a lot of law enforcement is coming because, you know, the Kyoto Environmental Conference itself has brought a lot of legislation on the industry. We have to strictly follow some environmental norms also. And the Copenhagen is not going to be nothing shorter than the Kyoto. Copenhagen also is going to impose something on your head. No doubt about that. So how to make our industry powerful enough to ward off competition, powerful enough to comply by all the enforced national as well as international rules? That's what we are going to tell you. And Mr. Dabney has mentioned the transformational resistance, the industry's resistance to change, to adapt themselves. That's one of the drawbacks which we have been facing so far, and we are still facing. So the industry has to be opened up. And remember, it is a need of the hour. If you are not modernizing the way the nation, the globe, the world is expecting, perhaps it will be hard for you to sustain the market. Or perhaps it will be hard for you to draw the profit which is due to you actually. So what, in Indian conditions, what we have to go for, what we have to do to produce this resource-efficient bricks, that's what we are going to explain. I know the most suitable process, there's no short words, no tailor-made principle. The most suitable process is varying from one industry to another. From one entrepreneur, his wishes, to another entrepreneur and his wishes. It will vary. So it has to be fine-tuned. Still, we are just giving you the skeletal plan of it. Just an outline of what is required. And according to the process, the machinery also, the machinery mix which you require also may be varied and different. And an ideal project, as you know, is, as I told, I've been repeating it, an ideal project is a project which utilizes all the raw materials available and all the byproducts of the local industry, which can be utilized as a raw material in clay industry, and that to produce the optimum number of products with the optimum quality. That's an ideal project. So an ideal process also is proper clay management. And what is proper clay management? That we are going to explain. And this I have already explained, and this also. You know, as I told you before, the need of the hour is to transform the industry from what we have been so far to what we have to be. We have to get to a certain stage, and that is because we have to produce hollow blocks. Rather than the solid bricks which we have been producing so far, we have to upgrade ourselves. Maybe to the listeners in Industrial Fraternity of Kerala, it kind of sounds as a new piece of information. It's an old piece because they are already halfway through. But to most of the Indian industry, they are still making the solid bricks. Solid bricks, of course, is required maybe for the foundation and all, as Mr. Ramesh has told it. But after, the superstructures doesn't require it at all. Is what I can consider, what I think. And so your industry has to be made hollow blocks compliant. It must be able to produce as much as possible designs of hollow blocks and as much number as you desire. So how to make your industry, how to transform your industry in the Indian way, in the most feasible Indian way, I mean. And the story is, in short, is centered around 50,000 resource-efficient bricks per acre with 100% profitability. Maybe it's vary still. And an ideal factory in a small setup should require this much machineries. So the process is not separate from the machineries. The process is embedded in the machineries itself. So the machineries is what I'm going to explain. And the first machinery which is required according to our one process is a box feeder. We'll explain what a box feeder is. Next is a crushing roller and a bucket excavator and a clay mixer. Then comes a pan mill. Then a fine grinding rollers, de-airing extruder mill, the most important thing. And a cutting table, straps, kilns, trolleys, conveyors, everything. The first. And we begin from the clay storage space, where we stock the clays. And we recommend that all the clays must be stocked in separate heaps in the clay bin, not all put together. In some companies, they mix all the things together and take a lump of the mixed clay. Instead, we are recommending all the clays as they come must be stocked in separate heaps, because it will be coming in sporadic periodicity, not in regular patterns at first. So whenever the sand clay comes, you stock it in a sand clay heap. Whenever the plastic clay comes, you stock it in a separate heap, in a clay bin. And whenever any utilizable waste or byproducts of the industry comes, stock in a separate heap. Then what you have to do, you have to understand your raw materials first. Raw materials must be studied deeply, because in the industry, the technical know-how starts from there. The process fine-tuning starts from there. So we have to understand what the case. We recommend to set up a testing lab. Dr. Warren also has been telling this. Every industry must have a full-fledged testing lab. The testing starts from the raw materials. We check its physical properties maybe by touch and feel, by looking at it. And we have to test its plasticity. Normally, they should take it and make it noodle with their hands to test its physical properties and plasticity. Then we have to understand its binding properties and its raw color, water content, natural water content, the grain shrinkage after extrusion, raw weight, dry weight, pre-burn shrinkage, of course, after drying, and burned weight, color, shrinkage, all these things, And Dr. Daniel will also be able to help you in this regard because he is experienced in setting up labs of this sort. And the braking strength, of course. And some people you should even take into consideration the pre-burn braking strength also, weight and everything. And after that burning, water absorption, acid stability, sometimes even that is being tested. Acid stability, alkaline stability, all those things of burned brakes. But why should we test all those things? The testing is done to understand your raw materials, of course, and you to understand your end products, fine-tuning the process. By understanding the raw materials and the finished product with the present process, only you can fine-tune the process. And this is very much effective and useful in value addition. In value addition is most useful, and value addition and innovation is the key words in the success of any industry. We change every day. We adapt to the need of the hour every moment. For this, testing and understanding is most important. Now we begin with the machineries, of course. The first machinery, as I mentioned before, is a box feeder. What's a box feeder? It is used to homogenize the clay in the first stage itself. The clay is fed in proportions. The proportion is based on the loads. Maybe you may be using lorry loads or some excavator loads or some whatever it is. Proportion the clay, after understanding the nature of the clay, in the proportion, in the ratio you want to mix it. And load this clay in that proportion to a box feeder. You can feed, this is the box feeder. You can see the picture. And there are different types of box feeders also, which for your specific industry, which is a box feeder required, more suitable model required, that can be manufactured. Is it, Mr. Jen? Box feeders also